Yeah, so 1.9%. So it will become, in fact, not the second, but perhaps the third worst that has happened in Australia's recorded history. The reason why it's not as bad as anticipated is because mainly you've got a situation where exports have boomed for Australia during this past quarter. Now, at the very beginning, it was expected that this quarter might have contracted by some 3 to 4%. It also means that Australia is really not going to be going into recession, the double dip recession that many had expected. So politically, that's one thing that the government won't have to deal with. The second aspect of this is going to be important, and that is really a situation whereby Australians, now that they've come out of lockdowns, because this was the quarter, the one that's just been reported that was about the lockdowns, and so that's the reason why it was expected to be poor, but because of really booming sales of iron ore and coal in particular, and liquefied natural gas, Australia really has seen the worst of the economic performance during that quarter. So, as I say, that 1.9%, significantly better than what was anticipated. The market had thought it would be 2.5%. Australia, again, has shown its resilience, I guess, in the face of this pandemic.
Some predictions had it even up at 3%. Terms of trade, a big factor, 0.4% they rose, but from such a high level. Here's an interesting element to this, Andrew Clennell. Household saving ratio has gone from 11.8% to 19.8%. The money being saved up there to spend at Christmas, to give a bit of impetus to the economy, it's massive. People are sitting on all sorts of money. They were locked down. They couldn't spend money. They were often getting sort of government benefits, whatever it would be. That's a huge increase in saving that's there to spend if they have the confidence to do so.
Well, it's just the mirror image of last year, isn't it? We saw the same sort of negative result. We saw people come out of lockdown, spend like crazy. That gets the economy going again just in time for an election, as long as there are no more lockdowns. That's what the government will be thinking. They were thinking it would be 2 to 3%, at least 2%. So as Ross says, better than we thought. It is interesting on those exports, isn't it? Iron ore to China is still so significant to this economy, but essentially I don't think it's that bad news for Australia. We've had lockdowns. What do you expect? Of course, for months and months in the two most populous states. You can't expect any other result in those circumstances. And, it could have been worse. And next quarter it's going to bounce back, so we avoid recession.
Yeah, and in fact, the next quarter, which you're talking about, which is actually the one we're living through now, where lockdowns have ended, where we know that business investment is skyrocketed, we know that retail spending is rising, and as you point out, that household savings ratio has jumped during that time because people were at home and really couldn't spend their money. They weren't travelling, they weren't able to go anywhere. And so what you've now got is that money about to be spent. But there's a second factor to this, and that is you saw today the latest house price numbers coming out from CoreLogic. They again showed the strength in the housing markets. And so what you've got is while people have got housing prices going and they've got savings in their pocket, they are prepared to spend. So really, many retailers, a lot of businesses right now will be gearing themselves up in anticipation for the spending spree that will be coming from Australian households. It doesn't matter whether it's furniture, renovations, new pools. It will cause its own pressures, to be honest, with labour shortages and shortages of supplies. But the fact of the matter is, it's really some of the very best economic conditions, notwithstanding the lockdowns that we've been through, some of the very best economic conditions that Australia has ever experienced.